Coming up in this video, this is part of our mediumship training. Who's got abandonment issues?
Well, not anymore.
Have you wondered if spirit guides get angry at you and maybe leave? If you have any questions as we go related to the topic of this video, drop them in the comments.
You got to start thinking for yourself and looking deeper to crack the code. And that's one of the things that we're covering today.
Absolutely. So it is time to tag up. For all of our Zen heads in Zennet Academy, let us know that you're here with a hashtag ZenHead for life.
If you're watching live, give us a hashtag LifeTribe.
And if you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay fam.
So for those of you that are just meeting us or don't know us yet, I'm Heather.
And I'm David.
I'm Zennet. I'm not going to patronize you in this video. And if you know me by now, I call it. So I'm not going to patronize you with a bunch of woohoo, like your guides are still there.
Just believe.
Just believe, because we've talked about in other videos how to contact your guides, how to connect with your intuition. That is not what this is about. This is about your guides abandoning you, which is a question we get off and on through the years. And we've all felt abandoned and alone because personally, I don't know your guides. Okay. They might know my guides from the Spirit Guide Guild, if there is one, because I personally don't know that either. They might be at the annual Spirit Guide convention in Miami watching a drag show right now. It's not my business. In that case, I can say they have not abandoned you. They're just taking a break.
Like a Spirit Guide spring break.
So stop blowing up their phone when they're off duty. Okay. But what we can tell you is how to fix things on your end. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what's happening.
Yes. So I think the most famous instance, and you might be familiar with this one, of guide abandonment that comes to mind is the one where Jesus is on the cross and shouts out that he feels abandoned in his moment of trial, but he really wasn't. So in the story, he just needed to do the thing by himself. Otherwise, it wouldn't count.
It was a sucky thing, but
it was his thing.
It was his thing. So honestly, you see the theme of being abandoned, and I'm going to put it in a context of the bigger picture of that abandonment moment by a deity, okay, or a guide in pretty much all of the wisdom literature, but it's always a test. So Hercules went through it. Okay. In Greek mythology, Rocky went through it. That's like modern mythology, right? Yeah. Because you have to count those stories as the future's mythologies, right? Captain America went through it. Deadpool went through it. Okay. It's the same story. The key is that they mustered up the strength to do the thing. And then the cavalry showed up to take it home.
Absolutely. Right? Not to do it for them, but to help them become bigger and stronger than they ever thought they could be on their own, but only after they had proved it to themselves, not to the deity, but to themselves. That's the key.
Okay, so that's where we want to kind of have a paradigm shift around my guides have abandoned me. So yes, it's probably true that they haven't abandoned you, but this is about fixing it on your end, not about connecting. Like I said, we've got some other videos on how to connect.
Go watch those after this. Ooh, a Spirit Guide convention. Thanks, Darcy.
You want tickets to that, don't you? I think it's extremely private and hard to get into.
So have your guides abandoned you? Maybe they're just on holiday.
Right.
Maybe they're up in the club getting jiggy with it.
Maybe they've got their own hobbies and interests. Maybe they're so pissed and angry with you, they want nothing to do with you. Okay.
Probably not the case, but what you believe you make real, right?
You know, so that's beside the point. But now let's get into the good stuff.
Now it's time. Now it's time for the good stuff.
Tip number 1, understanding your connection. Okay, so like I said, we've talked about different ways to connect to your guides, but let's understand your connection on your end, because we're going to look at your end. So when we are in moments of darkness, we feel alone. It's classic.
Classic. It's epic. It's a heart-wrenching story until you come out to the light.
It's a sad story, bro, but we all go through it. So
love that.
But think of it this way. Let's call your guidance system the electric company. Okay. The electric company is there. It's a big company. And your conscious mind is the light bulb. Okay. So you can give this guidance system any name you want. God, goddess, guides, your subconscious mind that already has the answer and is trying to tell you something.
It can even represent a person that is physically telling you great advice, but you just can't hear it.
Right.
So that connection is always there, but there might be something on your end that's blocking that current. Usually it's your emotional state, like the feeling of getting abandoned or the feeling of being abandoned by itself. And we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, get to that in a minute. So, but your breaker might be thrown. Okay, possibilities here, right? Other than they just abandoned you. The breaker might be thrown. The lamp might not be plugged in. The light bulb might be burned out.
You didn't actually put the light bulb in the lamp. I mean, I've never done that personally.
Like, why isn't it working? Okay, so that it could be that. So I'm not trying to call anybody out on you don't know how to use a light bulb, or maybe you are overworking the system and all the disco lights in the house are on and you can't even see that the light bulb has turned on.
Never done that one.
Okay.
I've actually done that one.
Disco lights in your house?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, so
here is why. Your subconscious mind and messages from spirit are subtle energies. Okay, usually it's not shouting at you.
So you have to be still enough to hear it. And then you have to not follow it up with some fear and overthink the answer. In other words, you can't hear the phone in the middle of the strip club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. Dana says, I heard you have more than one. Yes, the theory is that there's about 3 to 5 different spirit guides. That's the theory.
And that's all super personal to you.
Yeah,
like this is, you
personal.
know, maybe we'll do another video on those kinds of theories because there's a lot of different ideas around how many you have. So,
and Lord says, sometimes I feel like that. They send things through and I think I have 4. Is that possible? I have no idea who they are. Yes, absolutely. Again, this is personal to you. Go with what you feel. And don't let anybody else tell you any different.
If you feel you have 4, go with your first gut instinct.
Yes.
That's part of like being self-reliant spiritually is like, I feel like I have 4. Okay,
boom,
I have
I'm
4.
Gonna own it. I have 4.
Do you need someone else to validate that for you? That would be a perfect example of tip number 1 is your connection. Trusting that connection. You're like, you might have a like, zzz, 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 zzz. You're like, do we have 4? I wonder if I have 4. I better find out if I have 4. That's static on the line.
Check your light bulb.
You're like, I feel like I have 4. I got 4.
Boom.
Boom, baby. And then you're off to the races.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about. That's a very small example. It could be a big example. Like I really feel like everyone's abandoned me.
Right.
We're going to get into that.
Yep. Lord says, I'm just halfway through the Crush Self-Doubts course.
Yes.
I'll get there.
You will.
You absolutely will. So Lord happens to be one of our Zen heads in Zennet Academy. She is amazing. She's really starting to kind of gain some traction and build that foundation that we were talking about, foundation of self-growth. So kudos to you, Lords. Keep at it, and you're going to get there before you even know it. Chelsea says, I have different guides for different problems I've noticed. Well, absolutely.
You know, the thing is, if you've got spirit guides, right? We all have different things we're good at, and as we specialize in life. So you're not like a different person as a guide on the other side. You still have the same specialty, right? So I mean, it's kind of like we think of spirit guides as some bigger, mysterious, all-encompassing something, but you carry your special spice with you. If you got a body or not a body, right? Bitey. If you got a bite,
or you can let the bodies hit the floor. Moving on to tip number 2.
Look at the fear
of abandonment
itself. So where there is an outer mask of abandonment, okay, think of it this way. There may be a dark underbelly of rejection that is lurking below the surface like the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you are rejected and your ego strength is not strong enough to bounce back, then you're going to get triggered. You're going to go straight to abandonment when there may be a dozen of other great reasons why you need to be for yourself or by yourself for a minute.
So if we don't resolve underlying hidden issues, and this goes to self-doubt, this goes to feeling abandoned, all of those little glitches in the system. But with this abandonment in specific, you're going to get triggered and kind of go straight to it. So if we don't resolve the underlying hidden issue, we could get what we want and then blow it when issues come up, when you're not expecting it, and lose it all. So maybe there's something you can't see that a wiser part of you already knows, or your guides, or the electric company that you don't know yet. So it's kind of like, this is where you kind of have faith and go, it's kind of quiet out there. What am I going to do now? Okay.
Yep. This is a moment for you to think for yourself and do for yourself. So when we have unresolved abandonment issues, the first thing that we jump to is, I've been abandoned.
I've been abandoned.
Rather than looking for solutions ourselves, or maybe looking at the real reason that we feel abandoned and working on that feeling itself.
So your guidance system is trying to lead you to self-reliance always, okay? Because our whole to being guided, let's look, we're children, right? Let's say we're children, we got our guides, we got our parental figures. It's trying to guide us to self-reliance, strength, and confidence. So we have to get there by taking little leaps of faith. And if we're not given the opportunity to take these little leaps of faith, we can't grow and challenge ourselves like Hercules or Deadpool or Jesus. I just used Hercules, Deadpool, and Jesus in the same sentence. Like they're all they at the club together right now. So take a leap of faith. Your guides are trying to get up in the club right now once in a while. So let them have a break.
Right. You think they don't have a personal life too?
I think they do.
Come on. The whole point of growing up is standing on your own 2 feet. So
it's like the moment that your dad lets go with the back of the bike after the training wheels come off. Remember that moment? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Could have been your mom doing it or your big brother. But what happens though is that you might have that moment of panic when you realize your dad let go and you fall. And that's what it's like when your guides abandon you. You're like, your dad is still there. He's on the sidewalk. But if you never graduate from the big wheel or the training wheels or whatever, you're never going to know the freedom of the big kid bike.
Starseed, I am so glad that I am not alone. Starseed says, I taught myself to ride a bike. Same here. I started actually on a 10-speed without training wheels. My first bike was a 10-speed. I remember falling off of that bike so many times.
How are we doing so far? Is this making sense? Because we want to get you out of why have my guides abandoned me and into how can I fix it on my end and what can I do in the meantime while they're in Miami?
How can I feel stronger when they're at the strip club?
Right. So if so, I don't know what that looks like. So
now it's pull time.
So this begs the question. I don't know if it begs the question, but
it begs, please question.
Which bike would you be? Okay. Would you be a beach cruiser, like you're on the bike on the beach, or a mountain bike? Which one are you like hanging out, going slow, watching the ocean, or like zoom, 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 right?
Are you kicking it on the beach or are you kicking it in the mountains? Which kind of bike would you be?
I'm the beach cruiser. I love the mountains, but I like it makes me a little bit, I feel like I'm gonna fall.
I think personally, I'm a mountain bike by the beach. That would be me. I would be the mountain bike by the beach.
Okay.
Because I'm not really digging the beach cruisers. They go too slow.
Okay, so he needs something in between.
Or I'd be a 10-speed.
Of course, he's complicated. Yeah. So let's get into kind of give you guys a little solution for when you feel abandoned. So the solution is in a short phrase, get busy, but it's what you get busy with that's important.
It really is a busy world, right? A busy universe. But often people who feel abandoned feel very lonely in it. I know this sounds weird, but sometimes people get addicted to the feeling of self-pity when they feel abandoned, and then they get caught in this feedback loop.
If you feel stuck and can't hear your guidance, however that comes in for you, however the guidance arrives, do something for others. Okay. Yes. We often say, you're primary, you're yourself, but we learn to love ourselves. Okay. The reason for this is that we learn self-love from others first, specifically our parents, because they reflect back to us. They love us. They accept us. They're not going to abandon us. And so we learn to do that for ourselves. And
as weird as it sounds, this is an unfinished loop to close, because when we first come into the world, we are these little balls of id with it. We don't know who we are yet, literally. And our parents reflecting back to us love, support, nurture, acceptance, that lets us know, okay. And then as we grow up, we start to learn to do that for ourselves. We start to see that for ourselves, and then we start to do it for other people.
So many of us have this unclosed loop, and that's not uncommon. So it kind of bleeds into our adult life in different areas. So being of service to others is a great action step, because when you do service projects, it's like catnip for spirit guides, right? Yep. They can't resist a good humanitarian effort. They bring donuts and coffee and sometimes a massage table. So basically, as you do for others, you love people, they love you back, and it creates a better loop.
A positive feedback loop of doing for others and receiving the feeling of doing for others the same way that you would like to be done for yourself.
And this may not be the greatest thing for someone who's a people pleaser, but just people pleasing and overly extending. That's a different thing.
There's a balance to everything.
But this is more about being of service to others.
Think of this another way. Were you really abandoned Or did people finally leave you alone so you could actually get shit done and find yourself?
Boom. Look at it.
Don't find ourselves when we are surrounded with people.
No.
Most of the time.
We find ourselves in those moments when we are with ourselves.
That can be very hard to do when we don't like ourselves,
right?
Or when other people have shown that they don't like us.
So yeah, we get that feedback loop about I'm not getting that love. Maybe I shouldn't like myself. Maybe I'm unlikable. But at the end of the day, it is most important that you don't abandon you. And sometimes that means you have to go find yourself and say, hey, I'm here. I'm back. I'm with you. So think of Shark Tank. Right.
The person who actually gets the financial backing from a wealthy investor is the one who puts the most work in for themselves. They had faith in their project. They never abandoned their idea. And most importantly, they stayed true to themselves.
And that was the test of all those like classical heroes in literature that we talked about in the beginning. Hercules, like he was like struggling, but the help from the gods didn't come until he was willing to like do his best with his self, his unhelped self. When we're willing to do the best with our embellished self, then the cavalry comes in. Our
unembellished self. Basically down to our nuts and bolts and our own roots. Chelsea says, I was a people pleaser because I never got that support as a child. I've always been a self-doer. And we've got, I think it's pretty unanimous that aside from me being a mountain bike on the beach, everybody else is a beach cruiser or beach hangout.
My life is sort of, right through the mountains. So Chelsea when I go on vacation, I want the beach.
Yeah. Chelsea says beach cruiser for the most, but I like a day in the mountains.
Agreed.
And there's no hard and fast rule here. You can always go out and adventure wherever you want.
This is not a test.
So we want to know if you are more excited now that you have these tips. Have we cleared up some mysteries or busted some myths?
So it is a revolution here at CRG.
It's a revolution.
Viva la revolucion. Don't know what accent I'm using this morning. So we're fighting back against lost fairies and unicorns, running amok, causing chaos and wreaking havoc.
We do love them both, but sometimes they are up in the club with the spirit guides, drinking too much love and light and end up puking rainbows, which is super hard to get out of the carpet.
Get you to look at things in a little different way to support metaphysical entrepreneurs with real tools for the 21st century. I want to give some love back to one of our Zen heads, Gabriella, who shared her experience with us on the Google machine. She said, Heather and David are the real deal. They have service and others. That's what we're talking about, because we need love too.
Yes. They have service and others in mind and are totally genuine in wanting to help others.
I've had the great pleasure to interview them for the Dare to Be Kind movement, and I am so touched at how open and easygoing they are and how wanting to help others stands central to them. That is our mission.
Yes.
Thank you, David and Heather, for all you do.
Yes. Gabriella, thank you. I mean, when we're talking about humanitarian efforts and doing things that help other people, she really has that down. She's got this entire movement that she has created, and it was actually an honor to be interviewed. And
if you want to check her out, go check out Dare to Be Kind movement. Yes. It's a really cool project she's got. We have learned that self-growth and developing your superpowers go together like sushi, Sapporo, and sake.
And that's why we created our signature subscription membership, Zennet Academy, to bridge that gap.
So real quick, let's find out if this is right for you. Are you tired of mediumship advice that is way too complicated?
Are you tired of people telling you that the intuitive arts are satanic?
My favorite. If so, Zennet Academy is our rebel base.
Rebel base. Gotta love the rebel base. Zennet Academy is where the science of self-growth meets the magic of mysticism. So Lord says, do it. It's the best. Getting the husband hooked soon.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
This is going to work for you, even if you're allergic to fairy dust. And you just need real information without all the unicorn poop.
Yeah. The info is down below. If you still have any questions, comment with #TellMeMore or send us a message on Facebook at Zen Rose Garden or DM on IG. If you like this video, hit that like button 5 times.
And if you have any questions, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. And for more mind hacking pro tips,
be sure to subscribe
and click that bell to turn notifications on.
Some like drag queen's going to pop out and go, click the bell. Click the bell. So you're the first to know when we drop a new video. So we do know that time is a valuable and precious resource.
And the fact that you guys have chosen to spend that not only with us, being crazy and wild as we are, but most importantly with yourselves, leveling up your skills, taking your healing everything to a whole new level for yourselves. We honor and appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.